everybody. So today's episode is a recap with Katie and Hannah of the fall movies, particularly in September and October. For some reason, my sound isn't perfect. I wish it was better. I tried everything could do to make it better. I'm sorry, but hopefully you still enjoy the episode. But I just wanted to let you know that I really tried to fix it, but it just recorded odd. It's a little pingy, so I'm sorry about that. But I hope y'all still enjoy what we had to say.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmark podcast, and we are here to talk about the fall, the remaining fall into you, the fall love movies. I don't know what they were called. The fall movies and falling for you.
Oh God.
Yes.
Look it up.
We're talking about the movies on Hallmark Channel and Hallmark Movies and Mysteries in September and October. It's going to be fun, and I'm Film Critic Rachel Wagner, and Hannah and Katie are here.
Hello.
Yay. How are you both doing?
Good.
Swell. Good enough. Yeah. So if people aren't aware, Hannah and Katie are podcasters. They have their own podcast, When Kiss Means Forever. And you all are live Twitter queens. Amazing. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Tired. And Christmas hasn't even started yet.
I know. I just got back from New York myself, and I'm just like, okay, this weekend is starting Christmas movies.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. Yep. But I have to say that I think that whatever they called it, the fall season for Hallmark has been very strong. I think the August movies were great. I think the September movies were pretty good. And I mean, considering the first half of the year was not my favorite, there were a couple good ones, but I struggled a little bit. I think they did a pretty darn good job in fall, and it makes me excited for what they're going to have to offer for Christmas.
Well, I will say, we have talked about it before, at least Katie and I have, that fall is their strongest season in terms of movies that are not Christmas.
Yeah.
Just in general, like they do fall better than anything else.
Well, fall is the most romantic season, if you don't count Christmas.
Valentine's.
Yeah, well, actually, I feel like fall is more romantic than Valentine's, because, like, Valentine's, sure, it's still cold and whatever, but fall, you got, like, pumpkins and cider and pretty colors.
It's true when you need to be cozy, and I guess that's true in February as well, but there is something about fall that's very cozy.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good time to find that significant other because they can keep you physically warm.
Yeah.
I mean, but I kind of feel like they've just abandoned all the other holidays, which I don't like. But at least this year we got some actual fall movies, which was nice.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, we got a whole town of pumpkins, so we can't complain too much. We did already talk about the two mystery movies for October, the Nikki and Nora and the Francesca P.I. in a previous episode of the podcast with my friend Me Too from the Pilot Podcast. So I'll put a link down in the description if people want to check that out. They weren't my favorite, but we had a ton of fun talking about them. So, yes. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a strong season for them, and we had two that we talked about in separate Mahogany episodes. So we're just going to briefly talk about those. So let's just dive in because we've got a ton to talk about. And so the first one that we had was "Marry Me in Yosemite." And this was on the 3rd of September. It stars Cindy Busby, Tyler Harlow, and writer-director Bruce D. Johnson. and it's Zoe is a successful photojournalist. On request of her publisher, she takes her next subject to be Yosemite. There she meets Jack, an intriguing tour guide who opens her eyes to new possibilities as they take a journey together. So, overall, what did you think of this movie? What do you think, Hannah?
This was not my favorite. This movie genuinely made me a little uncomfortable, mostly because it's got this whole plot line about like native peoples in the area, blah blah blah, and it was a little white savory to me, and I was not into that. Is that I don't ever buy Cindy Busby as an outdoor person. I know she's in so many of these, but like she seems I have no idea what she's like in real life, but she plays indoor person to me.
What did you think, Katie?
I agree with Hannah with this one. I remember watching this with my mother-in-law, and there were a couple things, and I can't remember what they were now, but even she was like screaming at the screen, like going like, "Why did you do that?" Or what's going on here? And I just feel like we've seen this character from Sydney Busby before. Like she's a photographer. Like again, she's on a nature like hike again, trying to find like the one good picture. And then I didn't even really understand the picture at the end. But ultimately, I just felt like it was a movie where nothing happened,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really understand their love story. So that's where I'm at with this one.
Why do you think that Hallmark is so in love with photographers? There's so many.
They're so in love. I mean, they're in love with all jobs that if you actually put them out into the real world, I'd be like really concerned about these people making money, but that's not what it's about. I mean, like
Yeah.
if we want to go into it, what do we have in this fall? We have like writers, photographers, artists, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
There have been so many photographers over the years, and I think it's maybe just like the easiest. I don't know, like if you want your character to be creative, it's like the easiest career to. But really, in
yeah,
reality, most people that are professional photographers are maybe doing a few gigs for a magazine if they get lucky or a site, but most of their work is done at like weddings and
Yeah.
taking
right.
school photos and
I
things
think
like
Well,
I think it's an easy profession to get someone into like a fish out of water situation. Like who needs to go on location for any reason? Journalists.
right.
yeah,
Photojournalists or otherwise. That's how we
Hmm.
get them to the new place where they find the
Right.
new love.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
one thing that did disappoint me, I mean, not really disappoint, but I think could have made this movie better is if it had actually been filmed in Yosemite. I mean, it was so obvious that most of the outdoor shots were not in Yosemite.
Mhm.
The way that they were kind of cropped and the way that they were, and a lot of it was inside in cabins and things like that. They maybe went for a weekend to Yosemite for a few shots, but I understand the budget, but it just makes it not as good.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
it's an interesting thing what you say about them talking about the Native Americans. It's a tough situation because I think they were genuinely trying to be like inclusive and to she's writing this book on history, and I think they were like trying to include the Native American story and not just have it be about John Muir and
I
that
think
kind of
that's
thing.
true. I think what bothers me is that the two leads are like the whitest of white people who are going to then tell this Native American story as
Yeah.
opposed to like im alter this movie slightly and have Cindy Busby's character be a man and fall in love with the park ranger
Mm.
lady.
Mhm.
Like, that's then I don't have this problem as much,
Yeah.
how it just
So
it's
if they
coming
gender flipped the character, that would make it better for you?
not supposed specifically gender flip, but, like, I I needed one of the storytellers to actually be native when it
Yeah.
got out to the public. Like, yes, they're
Right.
using them as primary sources, but the people who are profiting off this story are going to end up being the white people, and that was upsetting.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, I think if they had like the one with Rhiannon Fish,
Mm-hmm.
where she meets like
With the whales and stuff.
no, the one
Oh.
before that in
The
Oh.
one
Alaska.
with the yeah, was it an
'Cause
eagle or
yeah,
something like that?
because that lead was a person of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, in that vein. But like they had a female park ranger who was native in this movie already.
Yeah.
So if she
So
was writing the book, that might be better.
right. Like if she was the Jack character and the Cindy Busby
Hmm.
character, Zoe character was actually a man,
Yeah.
and then you had that love story that essentially tells the same plot, but it's just, that I
Yeah.
think that would have worked a little bit better for me.
I think also if they had just maybe not made the book so broad, then you
Mm.
wouldn't feel the need to tell everyone's story. Like if they were just doing a book on Ansel Adams and his photography, and her coming up and doing some of her own photography or curating it or something like that, then you wouldn't feel the need to tell everyone's story because it was kind of a downer. Like in the middle,
Oh,
you could say it was important, but it was also kind of heavy for a light, fluffy movie, I thought.
for a light, fluffy movie that they're then turning into a coffee table book.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what everybody wants in their coffee table. Don't you always flip through those? Like, oh look, genocide.
Yes.
Just what I wanted to flip through.
The other thing that I thought was frustrating is she gets her foot caught in this rock at one point, and I just didn't understand why she didn't just take off her shoe.
It
Right?
was yelling at the screen
There were
so
so
hard.
many moments. There were so many moments in this movie where I was like, "You don't know better. You need water. You need shorts. You need pants. It's gonna be cold, Cindy Busby. Like, stop pretending like you're a master hiker. You are not. Take their advice. Just do it." And
You
that's
can
something.
literally take off your shoe, and then it's more flexible when your foot's not in it, and you have a better angle at it too. Then you could get it out. But there's
Well,
there's no
I mean,
reason why she couldn't just take off her shoe
No.
rather than like starve there.
Right. And there's
and
just
be
like I
mauled
feel
by
like
a bear.
we've yes. Oh my gosh. We've gotten this from Cindy Busby a few times where I just kind of feel like she just makes dumb choices as a character. Like her character's just like, I know best. Dee 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 dee. Oops, I could have died in myriad ways, but I won't because it's Hallmark and I'm gonna fall in love. And like it just I want more than that for her. Like I want her to
Yeah.
be like in a struggle that I don't know
Yeah.
that she learns from rather than she always gets the right answer. That's what
Yeah.
I want.
And she's been so supportive of the podcast. We
Yeah.
love Cindy. She's great. But yeah, I do think they could make her characters a little bit stronger.
I agree. She
Yeah.
deserves that.
Yes, agreed.
Choose other ones, Cindy.
But I think this Tyler Harlow is a good find. I mean, this is only his second role ever,
no.
and I thought he did a pretty good job for that.
Oh, I didn't realize it was ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least
Oh,
on
he
his
did great.
IMDb. He has one other Lifetime movie coming.
Well, good for him. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I hope they give him more to do
Mhm.
because all he did was save Cindy Busby over and over and over again. but
But he
um,
looked so dreamy
did-
doing it.
he did a good job with it.
So I'm gonna give this one out of 5 crowns. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. What about you, Hannah?
I think I'm gonna give it a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it just not
Yeah.
my favorite.
I agree with the 2.
Okay. Then next we have this was on the 8th. We have The Secrets of Bella Vista. This is on Movies and Mysteries. Rachel Lefevre and Niall Mater. Director Heather Hawthorne Doyle. And it's when Tess inherits an apple orchard along with a half sister she never met, she unravels the mystery of the family who abandoned her, ultimately finding a new understanding of herself. So, Katie, what did you overall think of this one?
So, gonna be honest, this was one that I missed and never went back to see, which I'm sad about because I love me some Niall Mater as of right now. So, what I would like to do is I want to hear what you guys think and then offer my completely unknown and like opinions. Whether that means like, oh, that sounds cute, or really that actually happened in this movie. I'll interject as needed.
Okay, that's good. This one for me, I thought it was pretty good. I think that it was a bit overstuffed. They had a lot of characters and a lot going on, and it kind of felt like the pilot for a show. And
I
would
hear
watch
that
the show.
completely. Yeah, I found it intriguing. Like I was invested. I was like, I do want to know why this character like doesn't know this other family and like how they know about her, but she doesn't know about them, and all of that was really like interesting to me. And also like the whole antique aspect of their lives, which, you know, that's just fun to watch. I show me old stuff and what it's worth. I'm
Mhm.
into that. Really, I didn't even think about it, but saying like pilot to a show, I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch that show.
Mhm. Yeah, because it was hard to get invested in all of the characters because there was like her relationship with her mom, there was her relationship with this new sister. The sister was trying to make everything work, but there was like this debt, and so then are they going to sell the farm? But then there's also she's like an antiquer.
Yeah.
And then you have Nal Mater's character, who's an accountant, right?
Yeah, or I mean, he's the executor of the estate.
Yeah, but they were very
Um,
clear to say he's not a lawyer. They did not
Yeah.
say
Lawyer.
he's not a lawyer.
but like he's around not because he's an accountant, but because he's the executor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And so yeah, overall, I thought it was okay. I would have liked it to be a miniseries or something like that.
I can see that. Yeah, I think there was a lot of story here that they felt they couldn't cut out, and it made it hard to get everything in.
Well,
In
now
a
that they
way.
don't have Chesapeake Shores anymore, we got an
Yeah.
opening. You know, let's have the Bella Vista soap.
Yeah, and they're
Right.
trying to find there's like this hidden treasure from the
Right.
grandma that they're trying to find.
Did they find it?
And
You know.
kind of, yeah. They do.
The treasure was inside you the whole time. Just kidding.
I guess this is based on a novel, and you could tell
Yeah.
that it
I
was.
mean, that's the thing is, I think their most successful novel to movie adaptations are ones where they are like, this side plot, we're not touching. Like, it's not going to be in the movie because you just can't do in a movie that's what, 100 minutes or so, 90
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah.
What you can do in a 300-page book. It's just not possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what would you give this one out of 5 crowns?
I'm going to say 3.75. Like, not quite
Ooh.
4, but maybe a little higher than 3.5.
Yeah, I'll say 3.5, but I'm basically the same. It was solid, but it just felt a little overstuffed, and I could have used more. So
Yeah, I
leave
think
you
that's
wanting more, I guess. Is a good thing. I don't know. Did we convince you, Katie?
Yeah,
Watch it?
I'm convinced to watch it. Like, I
Good.
mean, give me Niall Mater, and I actually really like Miss Lefevre in these movies. I think that she's a good
Mhm.
transition to Hallmarkdom. So I will watch it
Yeah.
at some point.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy, And me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode. We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
So then on the 10th, we have Merry-Go-Round. And this was on Hallmark Channel, Amanda Schull, Brennan Elliott. And this movie, let me find the summary. Okay. It's Abby is a successful executive moving to Paris and planning to marry Edward. Life is perfect until she learns her divorce to high school sweetheart Luke is not exactly official. So we have Sweet Home Alabama for Hallmark. Yep. But I did not like this movie at all. I didn't like the plot. Because the thing about Sweet Home Alabama is that both options are very likable, and she could pick either one, and I think that's what makes that movie work as well as it does. In this case, I just did not like Brennan Elliott's character. I thought he was smug and annoying, and that he's putting her through this when they were literally only married for a month.
Yep.
And then the reason why they separated without having a good talk about it, and I hate that whole trope of I'm making the decision for you because I don't want you to sacrifice your dreams for me. No, no, no,
Right.
no. So it wasn't for me. I didn't like this movie. What do you think, Hannah?
I don't think I disliked it quite as much as you did. I'm gonna put that out there. Because I think it is. I really like Amanda Schull in these movies. Like, I believe her, but I don't. I guess I get really caught up in the idea that like he could say no to a divorce when they haven't lived together in 20 years or something. Like, I don't think he gets a say anymore. Like it felt so contrived in that way where it's like, no, a judge would just be like, oops, okay, sign. Like,
Yep.
it would just be gone. The whole plot would be, I don't know. They spend so much time talking about this carnival and they're there for like 2 seconds. And that's the name of the movie. It's about a merry-go-round. They're not really ever on. I don't know.
Barely.
Yeah.
And also talk about job that should not make him any money. He's a art painter and also a house painter, but he seems to buy the colors and then have his clients tell him they don't want those colors anymore. Which baffled me.
I did not understand his profession at all, which is fine.
It was weird. What was I was watching these admittedly while doing some other things, so I don't even remember. I did a big binge.
It's fine. You don't have to think too hard about it. Rachel, I actually kind of agree with you with this one. I did not like this movie, which is sad because I love Brennan Elliott and I love Amanda Schull in these movies. Like, I do, and I was really disappointed because just the whole plot premise that they put them through angered me so greatly that I could not go on their romance ride. They could have had great chemistry. They could have had a sweet romance, but just purely because of the fact she's like, hey, friend, haven't seen you for years. I'm going to marry the love of my life and go live out my dreams. Can I get this divorce? And he's like, no. For no reason.
It made no sense. And I don't think the courts would really
right.
This would never, I don't think this would happen. I think after I don't know how quick you can file for an annulment, but I feel like a month, that's pretty short, especially being that young.
Absolutely. Like, I feel like they would have annulled it, like, anyway, or you know what I mean? And then it's
Mhm.
supposed to be this, like, cute thing that the court person never submitted the papers way back in the day because mom said that you weren't good enough for my daughter, whatever, and it's this whole big angsty thing and blah, 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 blah. But it just made me so mad that he wouldn't give her a reason why he was saying no, and the fact that he said no in the first place, because and say it with me, if you truly love something, you let it go. And then if he would have
Yes.
said yes and then they like, like sparked, maybe her fiance couldn't get there for a while. Like, I buy that. I don't buy it the other way.
If you wouldn't have had a conversation saying with each other, saying, look, this is what your mother's saying, like, I just don't buy it that if you were really in love, that you would, after a month of being married, that you would just let it go like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
without even
Yeah.
talking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't believe that either. I genuinely hated her mother in this movie. Like,
She
as
was
a
terrible.
character, like, she was just so terrible, and, like, it just I mean, it was really, like, hard to watch because, like, you know, I'm sure everybody sees a little bit of their own parents in that relationship to a point,
Mhm.
and you're like, "No, this is really stressful, and I hate this."
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, there's certain people that on paper seem like they should be great fits for Hallmark, but then they just don't do it for me in their movies. And I have to say, Amanda Schull is one of them. And I think Maggie Lawson is another. Uh, they seem like a perfect fit, but for some reason, I just haven't loved either of their movies. But yeah, I mean, I love David Weaver. He's a friend of the podcast. So I don't know. I just think the premise just didn't work for me. I think you needed to make him more likable, and it just needed another go at the script. I think if
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
trying to do, like I said, if you look at Sweet Home Alabama, both Josh Lucas and Patrick Dempsey in that movie are really good options. And,
Mhm.
it's kind of like, which one does she choose?
When
Uh,
most of Twitter is asking why you're not staying with Edward, I think you
yeah,
have a
justice.
problem. Like,
Yeah, justice
that
for
just
Edward.
that's what happened, you know?
Yeah. So I would give this one like 1.5 crowns. It was not my
Okay.
fave.
Just because I'm feeling nice, I'm gonna say 2.
Okay.
I was also feeling in the 2,
Okay.
about this one.
Then we also had Love's Portrait, and I didn't write down the air date on this. I forgot. But it follows Lily, a museum curator who discovers a painting that looks just like her. She goes to find where the painting came from and who painted it. And this is Aubrey Reynolds and Richard McWilliams, Catherine McKiernan, anyway, and directed by John Lyd and also written by John Lyd. And I think that Aubrey Reynolds looks so much like uh, Vanessa. I don't know her last name from. Um, she was in a Christmas in July movie. Um, uh,
Oh,
Oh.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Vanessa Langways. I think
Yeah,
that Aubrey Reynolds looks so much like Vanessa
I
Langways.
totally see that. I see that completely.
So if they're ever looking to do a sisters movie, they should cast them too. Because I
Yeah.
thought it was her for a long time, and then I was like, oh, it's not. But
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, we've had a ton of Italy movies, and now we've gotten a couple Ireland movies this year. It seems like those are the only places that you can fall in love outside of
Oh,
the United
yeah.
States. It's Italy and Ireland.
Obviously. Oh, occasionally they'll give us France.
Sure.
Occasionally, I guess we did get one of those.
Or Belgium.
But
But, Italy and Ireland is my, heritage, so I feel, like, very connected to these stories.
but Hannah, do you guys see this one?
Yeah, I
What'd you
think I've
think?
seen them all. I think I really, really wanted to love this because I like the idea of you've somebody has painted a picture of you and they've never met you, and it's creepy and weird, and you have to go figure out why. Basically, like there's something intriguing about that premise. I didn't love it though, like in the way that I wanted to. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she is an asshole American through the
Mhm.
whole thing.
Yeah.
And I hate that. And I feel like, yes, of course, there are asshole Americans, but there are also asshole everywhere else's people.
Yeah.
And
But not in
like,
Hallmark movies. I don't think there should be. Hallmark
but
movies
like,
are supposed to be sweet and nice, and everybody, you know,
right.
like
Well, that's
you.
what I mean is like,
Unless you're a bad man of business, not our leads.
right. But I think somebody could go to Ireland and, you know, do like tourism without destroying things
Oh my
and
Well,
gosh.
being like irate about it.
well, my problem came with the conflict. Probably my least favorite conflict in film, whether on Hallmark or not, is the "you lied to me and I can never forgive you, even though I've gotten to know you as a person this whole time." Like, I hate that whole plot. It's so
Yes.
dumb.
Well,
Like,
also, like the whole reason he lied to her is because, like, what was he supposed to say? Like, I've been dreaming of you since I was a small child, so I
that's
Right.
what
painted
I
you,
wrote.
because
I
that's not creepy at all.
Yeah, I wrote,
Yeah.
she's mad at him for not telling her he had a dream and painted her. Come on. Yeah, especially in this situation where the lie is totally understandable. And he's definitely still been himself. He hasn't been lying about all of this stuff. He just didn't want to tell her this one thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So that annoyed me. I was like, ugh. Um, but I kind of liked certain aspects. The sister was really fun.
Yeah, she
I
was.
I liked that it was kind of this magical realism a little bit.
yeah.
The idea of the story is fun, and the whole kiss I thought was really good. Well, they had the near kiss and then the
Mhm.
kiss in the
Yeah.
rain. That was fun. I mean, when the near kiss happened and it's her stupid phone, that that annoyed me. I, I
Phone.
always
Her
say
phone
that.
was his own separate character
Yeah,
in this
the
movie.
cell phones are the thief of love. This was very true here. And I thought they had okay chemistry, considering I had never seen either of these actors. And so I was with it until the end, kind of, I was less with it. But I don't know. What do you think, Katie? Did you guys see this one?
I did. I did not hate it. I thought it was actually quite cute.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was quite cute, which always seems to help matters. And
Yeah.
I thought she was quite cute. I thought, like, in terms of like Hallmark lead, she was pretty, she was different. She was also very active on Twitter, which lended to the enjoyment of it quite a lot. Hannah and I always call out. Part of our shtick is we call out the tropes of Hallmark movies, and one famous one is obviously empty coffee cups. We always are like empty coffee
Uh-huh.
cup, like, that's just a thing. It's in lots of movies. And she was so funny. She actually responded and said, "I will fight you on that one. There was water." And I was like, "Cool, yeah, thank you." But I
That's
agree. I
funny.
I like the magical realism ones. I feel like she didn't have to be an asshole. I feel like he did not have to withhold that truth. It might have been even funnier if he was like, I dream about you,"
Yeah,
and she's like, "What?"
I agree.
And then again, then they get locked in a room somewhere and they have to dish it out. I don't know. Um, but ultimately, I thought it was not the worst love story set in Ireland that I've ever seen on Hallmark. So,
It is hard because The Presence of Love was so good this year, which was also
mm,
in Ireland.
that
I
was
thought
very
that's one of my favorite of the whole year. So it is kind of got steep competition for that one,
good.
in my opinion. But still, I agree. I would probably also give this one 3.5.
I think so. That's where I would land on this as well.
3.5s all around.
All right. So then we had To Her with Love. This was our Mahogany movie, and this stars Sky Marshall and Tobias Truvillian, and it's two teachers fall for each other while saving their school's art department. And like I said, we have a whole long episode, the Mahogany Cast, breaking this one down. But Katie, what did you think of this one?
So, I really enjoyed this one because this is the field that I work in. Is I
Oh
am
yeah.
I'm in an after school art department. Like that's just what I
Mhm.
do, and so like a lot of like the teaching principles and things that I like do for my teachers and teach for my kids were just so present, and it was kind of like being at work. And I joked about it with my coworkers the next day. I'm like, I felt like I was at work as a Hallmark. But I thought it was really sweet.
Mhm.
I did. I enjoyed this one a lot. I thought he was cute. I thought she was great. Yeah. I can't really remember if I had a problem with it or not, other than the fact that like I just want more from those kids. Like their art was cute. And you
Mhm.
really shouldn't have more than one art form in a classroom at once. Like separate it out, guys.
Oh yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah, and I loved their little movie date. That was really cute, I
Super
thought.
That
cute.
was very cute.
Mhm, mhm. So yeah, I was a fan. I love Sky Marshall. She was one of my favorite interviews of the year. She's so funny, and so next time they hire her, I'd encourage them to to lean into her humor even more because she was just hilarious. And but I thought it was cute, and so yeah, I would give this one like a 4.25. Uh, what do you think? What do you think, Hannah?
Um, I my only like real quote unquote problem with this movie is it felt light on the love story,
Yeah, that's
which
true.
like I don't know that I even dislike that as, but it just didn't feel as Hallmark to me in that regard. Because I did find like I do want to see them succeed with the art department and
Uh-huh.
get all their numbers and like statistics that art is important. Um, so I wish it like I wish I saw them fall in love a little bit more because I feel like the only time you did is that movie scene. But I did it, like this movie. I thought they did a good job with it, so I would give it 4 crowns.
Yeah, I really hope that they don't buy into this idea that for a movie to be important, it needs to be a drama. I
Yeah.
feel like they kind of are, and that's why all of the Mahogany movies have been on movies and mysteries. I guess that's going to be a thing. But like, there's no reason why we can't have a fun, bubbly Mahogany esque movie. Uh, that's a comedy. They've done it. Gosh, no, I can't think of the Kelly Rowland movies over at Lifetime.
Right. The
Merry
the
Little Ones.
Yes, yes. We could have something like that, here on Hallmark
Yeah.
Channel. That's something, of course, you see all the time on like the Oscars and stuff like that. Is that that's why comedies usually don't get nominated because they're seen as like less difficult, less important, less whatever.
But
But
they're harder to do,
it's
man.
not true. It's not true at
Yeah,
all. Um,
absolutely.
so anyway, so what, Katie, what would you give it?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll give it a 4.25.
All right. And Hannah?
Woohoo.
a 4.
Okay, good. All right. Next we had Wedding of a Lifetime, and this is on the 17th, and it's on Hallmark Channel. Brooke D'Orsay, Jonathan Bennett, our directors, Elizabeth Avalon and Anne Wheeler. And it's a recently separated couple rekindles their romance when they are inadvertently entered into a nationally televised contest competing for an all expense paid for wedding. So, Hannah, what did you think overall of this one?
Have still not completely decided. I realize we're like a month out at this point because part of me is like, that's fun and silly and great. And part of me is like, I find it upsetting that they like just these people were like ready to break up and then felt like they had to lie to everybody, and then somehow the most stressful situation I can think of puts them back in love, question mark. um so I
Yeah,
just don't know.
all fair points. I enjoyed it. I thought that this is like a perfect combination of Brooke Dorsey and Jonathan Bennett. I wouldn't have necessarily for some reason thought of them, but once I saw them, I'm like, this is ideal. They have the same bubbly energy. They're so well suited, so well matched to each other, in my opinion. I thought they had great chemistry. I thought it was refreshing that it was like a different kind of couple than we typically see. The fact that they had been engaged for so long. They were clearly living together. That's you never
I
see.
that was like a shocker. I was like,
It
"Oh
was
my
cool.
gosh. They live together."
Yeah, and I mean, and I guess I let it slide because it had been so soon that they had broken up like literally the night before, so nobody else in their family would have known, and then they tried to do this super nice thing for them, and so I can understand why they are hesitant to burst everyone's bubble when it had
Mhm.
just happened the night before. So it worked for me. Um, but yeah, I mean, the all the like antics with the games and everything like that got a little old after a while.
Mhm.
But I just thought their chemistry was so good that and it was fresh and something different, a little more madcap than we
Mhm.
sometimes see. So overall, I enjoyed it. What do you think, Katie?
I really liked this movie. But for a lot of reasons. I really, yeah, I agree. I think that their chemistry was really fun. I do kind of agree that it was weird that they had to deceive everybody by saying they hadn't broken up. But I really appreciated their real couple talk, like having feeling that there's something wrong and breaking it off just because they love each other, but then finding themselves again. I thought that was kind of sweet, even if it was kind of a weird way to get there. But one of the things that I really appreciated about this movie, on the edge of Hallmark, is that we have not discounted Jonathan Bennett as a straight lead. And
Mhm.
was worried about that after Christmas House and everything. And I'm glad that we're getting like more same sex stories, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should discount them to play other parts, where we're doing that all the time anyway. So I was really happy about that. That Jonathan Bennett is not being pigeonholed. That made me happy, and I think he's
Yeah.
adorable.
No, I agree with that. Same with Luke McFarlane.
Yeah.
That you know, it's acting. They're playing roles. They're
I
not.
Yes. Well, I feel
Yes.
like Luke McFarlane, we have like he's gone off and done other things to tell, the stories. But Jonathan Bennett's done it on Hallmark. And so I'm
It's true.
worried that Hallmark would just stick him in the box and, oh, you do the gay movies now. Without,
That's a good point. I
you
was
know.
kind of surprised this wasn't a a gay movie story when because he talked about it in at Christmas Con when we got to meet him, and he was really excited about it, and he just barely got married himself. So I was kind of thinking, oh well, maybe this will be a a gay story, but
That would
like I
have been
said, I thought they
cute.
had great chemistry, so it was fine.
Yeah, I would have liked one of the other couples that they were competing against to have been a same-sex couple,
Yeah, that would have been
Hmm.
personally.
nice.
I thought that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. The wedding dress she has to wear is was
Oof, that was
appropriately hideous. It
It
was
mm,
felt like a
really
weird beat to me. Like we went through all this madcap stuff and now we have to have a weird wedding. Like that felt like a weird beat to me. But I agree. Like
well.
it was all terrible.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're giving this as a prize, you would think you'd want it to be really nice, and so that it was kind of strange, strange prize. We're gonna give you the ugliest wedding ever as your prize. But
Gross.
nevertheless, they confess and then they get married at the end. And I've said for a long time that I think that Hallmark, whenever they have these fake weddings, they should do a promotion where they have somebody actually get married in the fake wedding. Think of
Yeah.
it would be free because they already got it. They got it set up, and it could be. I don't know. It just seems like it would be a really great little like thing they could do for their social media, and somebody would get a wedding, and
Well, Hallmark, I'm having a wedding in Mexico in May if you want to do a movie, and then I'll have my wedding there too. Come on over. We'll have a wild time.
so anyway, I will give this one a 4 out of 5. What about you, Hannah?
I also think I would land on a 4 out of 5.
Oh, okay. And Katie?
Yeah, let's do it. 4s all around.
Good.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Then we had Fly Away with Me, and this on the 24th, and it starred Natalie Hall, Peter Mooney. When Angie moves into her No Pets Allowed building, a parrot arrives unexpectedly. New neighbor Ted and the dog he's secretly sitting try to help her find the bird's owner without being caught. So, Katie, what did you think overall of this one?
So this is another one that I missed, which is a
Oh,
shame
okay.
because I really like Natalie Hall, like a lot. But weird little thing about me, I tend to really hate movies about birds, unless you're like Only Murders in the Building. I just think they're boring. Just like it's like this seems like madcap. Like we're gonna find the bird's owner and then fall in love some way. I'm like I don't know. It looked a little bit funny to me. So let's find out.
So I do also love Natalie Hall. She's a friend of the podcast. Actually listens. If you're listening, Natalie, we love you. And I thought this Peter Mooney was charming. I don't know him well, but I liked him. And overall, I thought this felt a little bit sitcom-y to me. It felt kind of like a plot for, a show like Friends or some show like that where a bird flies into their apartment and then what do they do and whatever. So it felt a little stretched out, like kind of a 30-minute, 25-minute plot stretched out to 80 minutes. But nevertheless, I still enjoyed it. I liked their banter. I thought was pretty good. This is another one where you have an epic near kiss interrupted by the phone. But the little search looking for Ruth and finding all the clues and playing bingo and kind of stuff around the way was fun. And the landlady was like appropriately villainous. I thought
she is an HR nightmare.
yeah, probably. But she was fun. She was fun. I thought her boyfriend or whatever he was, Kyle, was pretty epic. Bad boyfriend. Won't even read her script. Or am I getting my movies confused?
I was like, wait.
No, that's the other one. Sorry, it's the other apartment movie.
Oh,
that's the other apartment. No, but she did have a boyfriend, right? I think.
Yeah, no, she did, and he wouldn't read something, or it was the same situation.
Okay, I'm not crazy then because I have it on my
No.
notes.
No, it happens a lot.
He wouldn't be supportive of her. I know that.
She's
But
gotta be evil for a reason.
so I overall still enjoyed it, even though I did think it was a little stretched out. So I'm going to give it 3.75. What do you think? What do you think, Hannah?
So I also love Natalie Hall. I also feel like the plot ended up being a little on the thin side. I was really, really disappointed that she didn't already own the bird. I know this is like a stupid thing to care about, but the whole premise of like keeping a pet in a no pet building, I kind of was like, I just didn't believe that she would adopt a bird afterwards. That just didn't seem reasonable because it's been so hard to get an apartment for her.
Mhm. I
Um,
think especially it being such a fancy bird, I think that
yeah,
that makes a little more sense why you would like try to find the owner, or if it was just like a robin or something, so you probably just
Yeah.
shoo it out, but like a
well, but
really
like
fancy
even
parrot.
so, there are places to call to like be like, I found a bird, help, and she
Mhm.
doesn't do any of that. And then
Uh,
the other part that I did spend a lot of mental energy on was the fact this poor dog that lives in this apartment building that they're not allowed to be in.
oh, it was such a cute dog.
It was such a cute dog, but I kept thinking like, "Oh my god, what you have to sneak in and out multiple times because like not only do you have to like go places sometimes, but like how do you go for walks if you're not like
But wasn't the doorman in on all
I
this?
mean, the doorman I got the impression that the doorman consciously turned a blind eye and they knew that, but not in the like we're going to walk through the front door kind of
Because at the
way.
end, there's like literally everybody in the building is hiding a dog.
Yeah, but I felt like the two of them didn't know that he was in on it. It was
Yeah,
like fine.
probably.
Do
But
they all
also
like emerge Ace Ventura style, like pets coming out of every door? That would have been
Mhm.
funny.
but also like I do not believe that you can't hear that many pets in a building.
Mhm.
And that
Well,
this woman
also, like, I don't know what city, I can't remember what city this is supposed to be in, but his apartment was really, really huge because they're across from each other in the hallway, right? But yet when they're on the balcony, they're also across from each other. So that means his apartment had to swing all the way over and around.
well, maybe they're like you enter on the side, but then most of the apartment goes in the same direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
they're like it's like a
couldn't
horseshoe or something, and they're on the end of the hall, and they're
I
yeah,
consistent
think,
with each other. Who knows?
yeah.
yeah.
Let's
Okay,
design it.
also the other thing this is a thing that really bothers me in Hallmark movies, and they do it a lot, which is a problem. But they create you go through this narrative of these people who have an obstacle, they go over their obstacle, something happens, everything looks like it's going to fall apart, and then they come back together and they're in love and everything's fine, but they've never fixed the problem. So what really like got to me at the end of this movie is that we have two homeless people who love each other.
Yeah.
With love, anything's possible.
Like, but neither of you have a place to live anymore.
Well, and I also got annoyed when she overhears him talking to the landlady woman, and she just, without even talking to him, she's just like, "You're a terrible person."
Well,
That was
that's to
frustrating.
be expected.
uh, so, what would you give it?
I think I would give it probably a 3.5.
Okay, yeah. All right, so we have Girlfriendship. Let's do this one really quick because we did do a whole mahogany on it. But this is Tamara Mowry, Housley, Lindy Greenwood, Crystal Joy Brown, Brad James, and it's directed by Keisha Knight Pulliam, who is married to Brad James. So that's kind of fun. And it's after a booking mix-up, Samara's birthday getaway turns into a week-long journey where three friends rediscover their passions, their purpose, and romance. So this movie, I thought was pretty good. I feel like it's not as good as Unthinkably Good Things, the first one, but I really liked all of the leads, and it's a beautiful place, and Brad James is pretty dreamy. So overall, I enjoyed it, uh, but yeah, it was a little bit. I felt a little bit samey as Unthinkably Good Things, but that one was a little bit better. So it hurt and rang, but I still enjoyed it. I don't know. What do you think, Hannah?
I think that I agree with that, where it was a little bit like just, the southern version of Unthinkably Good Things. Also, the other thing is, like, I mean, this is my own personal, you know, interests and whatever. But of all the stories, I was kind of like, I know what's going to happen to Tamara. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, but I bet you didn't think she was going to invent mahogany.
Did not know that. I did not see that coming. But, like, I was really interested. Like, I would have liked to get more into the, like, hairdresser who's going to adopt a child or foster a child. Like, that's really interesting. Or like the other woman who, like, might go back to her lucrative career and maybe not be a housewife anymore and, like, actually do what she wants to do. Like, those were actually the more interesting stories, and I felt like they were clearly supposed to be secondary, and they were the ones I wanted to follow more.
Yeah, I think I can see that. Plus, the fact he was trying to keep his daughter away from going to college just seemed like a stretch to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
What do you think, Katie?
I agree with all points so far. I enjoyed this movie a lot because I think it's we haven't seen a movie quite like this on Hallmark Channel, because this one was on Hallmark Channel as opposed to Movies and Mysteries, which I
Yeah.
think Unthinkably Good Things was on Movies and Mysteries, right?
Well, it was dual
Or-
aired because it was the first one.
Oh.
It was aired on
Oh.
both. But yeah,
Cool.
that's why it wasn't an official mahogany movie, is because they,
Ah.
I guess, wanted it on Hallmark Channel, and I guess those are on Movies and Mysteries. I don't understand why, but anyway.
But I liked the idea of, like, I'm super hippy dippy, so I really liked this idea of, like, a spiritual retreat, and they're finding themselves, and I thought that was something kind of cute and sweet and touching, and but I agree with Hannah, like, the ending of the movie really aired towards the Tamara Mowry, like, love story, and then I thought it was out of character that, like, he was not wanting his daughter to succeed and go out in the world to be an artist, especially with a freaking full ride. That bugged me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? um, but I'd love to see more movies like this. I think they used the time relatively well, which
Mhm.
sometimes when we talk about pacing, like, sometimes we're talking about, like, the plots being thin or too much being packed in. I felt like this used its time pretty well. Just wanted to
Mhm.
learn more about the other two ladies. That's all.
And also, can we have one of these movies where Crystal Joy Brown gets to sing, please? She's been in a bunch now for Lifetime or Hallmark, and I don't
She's
see
like,
sung
you
in
don't
any
pay
of
me
them.
enough.
Come on. So I'd give this one a 3.25.
I'd say a 3.5.
Yeah, I think I'd land on a 3.5 for this one.
Okay, good. All right. So then we have Pumpkin Everything. This was on the 8th Hallmark Channel. Corey Sevier, Taylor Cole, director Jeff Beasley. It's based on a book. And it's Amy, an up and coming novelist, returns to her hometown to look after her stubborn grandfather, Tom, and his pumpkin themed store while confronting an old flame from her past. So this one for me, I actually really enjoyed it. This felt very old school Hallmark to me, and sometimes I like old school Hallmark. And it's interesting because I said the same thing about Taylor Cole's Christmas movie last year, the like Make Mary Bright or whatever.
Oh yeah,
That one
really
also
good.
felt very old school Hallmark to me, and I enjoyed it. Um, so that I liked. I think that the grandpa Michael Ironside was a lot. He was very difficult, especially given the fact that he literally crashed into a window of a store and people could have died. So that was a lot, but I always say I feel like there's a certain age where you make it a choice whether you're going to be a curmudgeon or you're going to be sweet and cuddly. And some of the old people in my life have made both choices. So I know I this did feel pretty realistic actually to me of like the way that some my particularly one of my grandfathers was. He took the curmudgeon choice, hardcore, and so I think, but there's maybe a bit too much of him. I think they could have toned that down a little bit. But I love Corey Sevier in this. I thought he was so dreamy, so swoon worthy. I loved the ending kiss. It was like I was joking with friends. I was like, they kiss like grown ups in this movie, and I appreciate that. uh, yeah, that's basically all I have to say, but I enjoyed it. I don't know. What do you think, Hannah?
So I see what you mean when you say old school Hallmark. Cuz I didn't love it, and I think most of the reason I didn't love it, actually it's twofold. First, I didn't see them fall in love. I saw them become really good like best friends again. I like missed the jump to romance bit. I don't
But
know.
I think that he did the like lingering look really well, which I'm a big fan of. You know, in like Austen movies, you'll have these guys just staring at the girls from across the room, and in real life it would be very creepy, but in movies it's very swoon worthy to me. And I felt like
Yeah,
Corey did that very well, like the looking across the room at her
and
and like
and I thought, like when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, this is clearly a character who, as a teenager, had a crush on this girl and never told
Mhm.
her, and she had no idea." And I didn't get any inkling in this movie where she got an idea and reciprocated. Like that's
Mm,
where I missed it or it wasn't there. I'm not sure. The
yeah.
other thing that is, it's through no fault of this movie, really. It's purely, hits that part of my, brain life thing where her relationship with her grandfather made me incredibly uncomfortable. And I think it's because it reminded me a little bit too much of my relationship with my grandfather. And, when
Mhm.
it didn't it didn't end well. um so like I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, a lot of the movie, just because I was like, I understand the not being supported by somebody who should support you and all of that. So
Yeah.
that part, it like hit a little close to home there.
Yeah, I can understand that. My curmudgeon grandpa was a lot. He was very difficult. But so yeah, I can understand what you're saying. What do you think, Katie?
Another one that I missed. I'm sad I missed so much this time. I missed this one and the later Autumn in the City as well. But the rest I
Okay.
did see. But which is sad because I love Taylor Cole and I am a pumpkin. I have pumpkin everything. So
Oh, you should own the
I
store.
just I should own the store. Sell it to me for $0. Um, uh, yeah. So I feel like based on the tweets that I saw, that I was like, it's okay if I skip it, but now hearing you guys talk, maybe I'll have to take a look, especially if this kiss was great. Because if it was a great kiss, Taylor Cole and fall movies, I guess, tend to do amazing kisses. So, I'm going to ask Hannah, how would you rate this kiss?
It's not a 10.
Okay.
I will tell you that. It wasn't a 10. I think it's on the higher end. I
Okay.
think it might be like an 8.5, but it
Very
wasn't
nice.
10 because I know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what a 10 is, but it was pretty.
A,
It was pretty high. I
a
mean,
10 is
they
Taylor Cole
circled
and Tyler
around
Hines.
them. It was a rotating shot, and it lasted for. It wasn't just like a peck on the lips like we
Yeah,
used
no,
to see.
I think your description of an adult human kiss
Yeah.
actually works. It was like two people who had actually, participated in a kiss before.
So
Cute.
yeah, so I would give this one. Did I already give my score? No, I don't think I did. So I would give this one a 4.25. I enjoyed it. What about you, Hannah?
I again because I had my own issues. I think I have to give it a 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to say that. I feel like other people giving this a higher score makes a lot of sense at the same time.
Yeah. All right. So then we had Midlove Crisis, and this Movies and Mysteries, and it's Terry Hatcher, James Tupper, director Terry Ingram, writer Joa Boken, and it follows a single mom approaching her 50th birthday who realizes she's in a midlife crisis. So this movie, I really enjoyed it. I thought that both Terry and James were great. They had good chemistry. I liked the whole relationship between her and her daughter, and then her daughter uh, is considering proposing. And I've said for a long time that there is a case to be made for getting married younger. That you grow together, and like somebody like me, if I get married now, it actually will be harder in a way because I have lived my life single for a long time and I'm used to living a certain way. And so now living with another person could be challenging. So
Mhm.
there's pluses and minuses to every age to get married. So I think it was fine for her daughter if she feels like she's there and she's ready. Um, I say go for it. So that whole plot line I thought was well done. Um, and uh, yeah, so I enjoyed this movie. I thought the we got another kiss in the rain. Maybe it's because I'm almost 42, so I feel like this is. I feel like my midlife crisis is coming soon. But
Aw, no.
You still got a ways to go. Don't worry about it.
so
Did you?
I liked it. I thought it was a very enjoyable, sweet movie. What do you think, Hannah?
I really love that it was a love story about the quote unquote older crowd, even though they're not really that old.
Mm-hmm.
But like that I think was great that, if
I mean, but it's really true. I mean, I can't think of anybody else on television or streaming that's making movies about 50-year-old women right now.
Yeah, like
Mm.
that was
With
really
the lead.
that was there were a few things that like I really loved. So I loved that, and I also loved there was a part at the end when she refers to her daughter and her daughter's fiance as her daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody questioned it, and I just like that made me so happy that that was not the issue of this movie. So like I all of that I loved.
Yeah.
I didn't need her ex-husband story
Mm-hmm.
at all. He creeped me out and I didn't like it and I didn't want him there.
Yeah, I can see that. He was a little clingy.
Yeah, but like also like he left her and then for him to be like, but maybe we should get back together. I was like,
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah.
Don't like you.
I can see that.
And I also like I'm I think Katie had said this on Twitter of like the because she ruins the engagement.
Yeah.
And that was like it just like I don't that's like a earth swallow me whole, I can
Yeah.
never face my kid again kind of scenario. Um but Katie and I have also talked a lot about how we don't like public proposals. So I did think the proposal was super cute
Uh-huh.
when it actually happened because it was exactly what I wanted because I had said earlier that I wanted a Sense8 proposal and that's what I got.
Did you see this, Katie?
I did. I liked it. I thought it was cute. I agree with
Mm.
all points. I mean, Terry Hatcher's always fun to see on TV. She's great. I thought they dealt with the whole like it's you from my past pretty well. I also really loved the small little Easter egg where they were obviously in a new house that had been built, but she was meant to have lived there in her childhood. So she's like, "Oh yeah, we renovated." So I feel like the attention to detail was actually pretty great.
Yeah.
And I really did enjoy the love story between her daughter and her ultimately fiance. And I agree with Hannah. I like that there was just no question about like whether or not these two should be together. It was and Terry Hatcher's journey of I'm projecting my issues on marrying young onto you. I just want you to be happy, and let's have a therapeutic moment all together after my meltdown. Um, I thought it was cute. My only issue with it was I felt like the first like act and a half was just okay, so here are my plans for the proposal. I want to be I felt like we had the same conversation like 8 different ways
Mm.
until we got to the movie, to the rest of the movie. It just felt like a little bit one note for a good long time, even though I ultimately liked it.
Yeah, I can see all that. I mean, I've been a big fan of James Tupper ever since Men in Trees, which was so good. Canceled too soon. I loved that show. R.I.P. Anne Heche. But he was very dreamy in that show, and I think he was good here. uh, so I would give this one a 4.5. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
What about you, Katie?
I'm going to say 3.75.
Mm. Hannah?
I guess I'm in between you. I think I'd go 4.
Okay.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Of Autumn in the City, and this was on the 15th, and it stars Amy Teagarden, Evan Roderick, Laura Soltis, director Michael Robinson, and writers Joey Elkins and Blake Silver. And it's Piper moves to New York for a fresh start. There she meets Austin, an aspiring writer. The magic of the autumn season brings them closer together. They team up on a children's book project during which they come to a great realization. And I have to say, so I watched this while visiting New York, and I think that is like the peak way to watch this movie, even more than being like with you, Hannah, living in New York. Because you know all the reasons that this is wrong. Like I feel like visiting and watching it in New York is like ideal.
Probably because, oh, did I have like, wait, why would you do such a thing? That doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a little contingent of like, we either live or have lived in New York Twitter like losing their minds over like, is
It's
that a
always
brownstone
fun.
or of an apartment building? It doesn't make any sense.
I was sad to
Yeah.
have missed this one for that, for those little arguments and like, and I really miss not being in New York in fall. So I think it would have just made me
Mhm.
angry and sad. So I'm okay in missing it.
Yeah, and
Um,
the leaves in New York City are not as pretty as the plastic leaves that they had in this
Oh, well,
movie.
also, I mean, they clearly did film a few things in New York City because like they were in Washington
And
Square
I
Park.
did appreciate that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I was like that is 100% Washington Square Park. You know, she's having a good time, which is great. All I could think was that, you know, I used to eat lunch out there when I was in college, and
Mhm.
the squirrels are not afraid of humans and will take food from your hands,
Sure will.
even when you do not offer it. So, like, she is taking her life in her hands over there. But
But I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I was in the perfect spot, perfect mood for it. I think this is the most winning Amy Teagarden has been, and in a Hallmark movie, because I feel like I've had a hard time as a viewer accepting her as a romantic lead because I'm just so tied to Julie from Friday Night Lights, and and that's not fair to her, and I understand that, but she just feels young to me, and this was the first time that I felt like she was cast accurately in a Hallmark
interesting.
movie. She felt young to me, whereas like last year, um, where she was supposed to be opposite Andrew Walker, she didn't feel. I mean, she felt too young for the part, and she's probably. I think she's 30, so she's not. But it's just again my issues, but also she just has a young face, and I feel like her, starting out in the city, being this young, kind of naive person. I felt like this was the first time that her image fit the character perfect, in my opinion. I thought that they had really nice chemistry. I thought that Laura Solstice was fun. She's always good as kind of the bad woman of business sort of types, like whether it's Romance and Style, being
Mhm.
the the witch kind of character, and she was like his difficult mother, and she's just, I think, really fun actress, brings a lot to her parts, and I don't know, I just enjoyed it. I thought it was sweet, fun. I like their chemistry, the banter. There were like some good laughs, I thought, for a Hallmark movie, like when she auditions by mistake for the what was it called, the Hostess with the Mostess or
It was
something, the musical.
Hostess the musical,
Hostess the
because
musical.
I had lots of questions about that.
Oh
That
my
was funny.
gosh.
That made me laugh. She
I mean,
thinks it's an interview. I thought it was
yeah.
funny.
I
The
mean,
whole thing with her, like the whole thing career wise with her illustrating and didn't really make sense. My sister has done picture books. You would need to do like lots. You can't just. It's a hard career to you would need to be doing like many books, especially to afford that apartment.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the part. This always happens to me for movies set in New York. It doesn't like, you know, I'm a little too tuned in to things like how much her apartment would cost her.
Yeah, it would be like
And
what, $5,000 a month or something like that.
I it is very, very possible it is that
Yeah,
high. I don't think it's possible to be under 3,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I figure that he's getting some kind of help, so I was fine with like his side of things.
yeah, it was hers that I actually had a bigger problem with.
Yeah,
It's a
Um,
movie.
right. I mean, of course, but you know, there those kinds of things are like I did lose my mind a little bit when she
yeah,
left Central Park to go to like all the way downtown for juice. That I I
Some good
couldn't I
juice,
couldn't get
man.
past it. Um,
yeah. Especially when you can just get it delivered in New York,
right, right. We
Sure.
were like, why is
free.
this happening? Um, you know, like things like that, like do take me out of things a little bit when they're set in New
Yeah.
York.
And like I said, I
So
think that me being visiting in New York is like the perfect spot. Like, because I agree, if I was living in New York, I would be like, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
just
I was trying to put that to the side, but I think it's really interesting that you found her to be age appropriate because she reads so old to me. Granted, I didn't watch Friday Night Lights, and
that's
I don't
interesting
have
because to
that.
me, she just has such a young face. She looks young to me.
And
That's interesting.
which is so interesting because she reads like I think she read young next to somebody like Andrew Walker, but next to Evan Roderick, I felt like she read so much older than he is.
Oh,
And
Interesting.
there's something like a 6 or 7 year age gap between the two, and he is younger. But
Mhm.
like I was like, oh my God, I don't believe you're in the same spot in life right now. um and I don't know, it's just like
Yeah,
it
there's
has
6 years. You're right, 6 years
yeah,
difference between them.
yeah.
Um,
But it's so interesting that like without the Friday Night Lights in my head, she ages up.
yeah,
Or I mean, I don't think she ages up. I think she aged into the age that she is.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Um,
yeah, this is my favorite role from her for Hallmark that I've
okay.
seen. I mean, I liked the the one where she needs a kidney,
Yeah,
but
I think that's my favorite one of hers.
but
Is the
again,
one where she
I I felt like she seemed too young for that one. So that's I because she not only was a teenager on Friday Night Lights, she was a like very difficult teenager. She was like
yeah.
your iconic teenager. I mean, that's a great show. If you ever want to binge a show, it is.
I have heard, and I just
It's extremely well made and well
yeah.
acted, and has Kyle Chandler, who I'm in love with. So, but yeah, this had enough like genuine laughs. Like I thought that whole Hostess the musical was really funny, and so some of the I thought the script I wrote down. I liked the script, like things like when she gives like a full on Bridgerton reference, which is like I feel
That
like that's happened too much in Hallmark lately. Like why? We've gotten a lot of Bridgerton references lately.
well, I think
In
it's because they want the Bridgerton audience to be like, we're hip, we're here.
yeah,
And where is
but
our Bridgerton Hallmark movie? Like I'm down for a period piece. Like
yeah,
let's
I
just do
mean,
it.
I guess we're getting one in the 50s this Christmas, but
Oh
Right.
hey.
yeah, it's spectacular. So I will give this one because I liked Laura Solstice. I really liked the two of them. I thought they had good chemistry. I liked the fact that it was actually shot in at least parts in New York as opposed to like the Yosemite movie or something like that. uh, and so I'm going to give this a 4.5. I
Wow.
had a good time with it. What about you, Hannah? What do you think?
I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're not looking for the imperfections,
Yeah.
or if you're not sitting here and being like, you can't pay this rent, I know you can't.
I guess you got a really good sublet. The person was desperate.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's amazing.
okay, last one. Sorry, this has been so long. So the last one is Perfect Harmony, and this was on the 16th. Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. James Denton, Shepard Denton, and Sherry Schwam. And this is directed by Stefan Scaini and written by Alicia Lomas Gross, who is a patron of Hallmarkies podcast. So, good friend of the podcast.
Very nice.
Yes, her first script. We're so excited for her. We did a whole interview with her, and we got to interview James, so that was super fun. And it's pop singer Jack and Professor Barrett must put aside their differences when their best friends get married, but working together as best man and maid of honor will lead to a duet of a lifetime. And so I have to admit, just stating my biases out front, with all of this connection, interviewing James and knowing Alicia, I really, really, really wanted to like this movie. I mean, I feel like I try to give every movie a good shot, but I was probably a little biased going into watching this movie, um, just as a critic. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was sweet. I enjoyed James and Shepard. I thought their dynamic as father and son in the movie was well done. You have James as this widower, that he did this tour after his wife died, and he wasn't really into it. And Sherry went to one of his performances, and she was like, "Wow, he's really lazy as a singer." So she was very critical of him. But then they get put into working on this song for their friends that are getting married, and it was kind of fun that they had in real life couple Peter and Julia Benson. That was fun, I thought. And so then they have to work, and they go back and forth, and she's kind of the snobby poetry professor, and he's the more cool, celebrity or whatever. But I thought it had some nice heart. There was some good dynamics. I thought the music was pretty good throughout. I mean, you can tell, like James, when we were interviewing, was saying like they had to work to make his singing sound great, and I was like, I could feel that, but it was serviceable. And I think the chemistry wasn't amazing between the two of them, but it was serviceable. It worked enough for me, and I thought they were both cute. So I liked it. I thought it had heart to it. So, Hannah, what'd you think?
I think you should start with Katie, actually.
Okay, Katie. So, Katie, what did you think?
So there were some things I thought were really cute. Like I agree, I liked the dynamic between the father and son. I really liked the something we don't see often is they went back and like in the past in like the brain, like, oh, that's how you saw this part of the story. This is how
Mhm.
I saw. I thought that was kind of a cute little device. Um, but mostly I'm sad to say that I didn't enjoy it, and there was a couple reasons why. And one of the reasons was I felt really bad for her. All the music that they gave her to sing was just not in the right key, and I felt like that was a disservice to her as a singer and an artist. I didn't it made me mad that she stole his notebook. Like, and I almost couldn't get back into the movie after this because the whole thing is like he has a song that she thinks is beautiful. I'll put a pin in that for a second because I did like the behind the scenes reason of his ooey oo song. I thought that was really sweet. But I hate the fact that she steals his notebook, doesn't say anything, goes and alters his work and says, "Here, I fixed it." And and I just felt like, how dare you? You took my journal, you took my artistic property, and you changed it, and I'm supposed to be on board now. And even though it like ended up being great, I feel like that's a conversation that you have, especially if you are a poetry professor. You should know better. And that made me so like, I mean, I'm a writer on the side, and if someone had done that to me, I don't know if I'd be able to talk to them for like a long time.
Yeah,
um,
I could
but
see that.
then
I could see
but
that.
then they sing the song and they never wrote the song. Like there all of a sudden there's a melody and I was like, how did they find it? Where did this melody come from? Why? And then they kiss during someone's wedding, and I just hate this idea of the most important day of someone's life, they're spending it matchmaking their friends, and I just don't buy it. I'm not going to do that in my wedding. Um, so like the day is supposed to be about the couple, and maybe that's where I'm coming from, but
Yeah,
it
at
had
least
its
that
perks,
would have
but
been
no.
that usually annoys me too. It would have annoyed me more if they weren't so invested, and the fact that they literally wrote the friends' vows, and I so I felt like they had full consent from the couple to do this.
I also am a strong proponent of let's cancel that "I can't write my vows, what should I say" trope. Like I don't.
Yeah.
And because I think if it doesn't come from the person on the day, I don't
Just
care
do
if you wrote it.
traditional vows. If you're not feeling it, the writing, there's no reason why you have to write. You could just do to have and too old to to love and to
You
cherish.
could, or you could just do what Maze did in Lucifer and just say, "I freaking love you," and that's enough for me. If that's what's in your heart on the day, that's what I need. And I feel like the inauthenticity of like, help me with the words because you're good at them. Well, I didn't marry a poet. That's not who I married. I don't need it to be beautiful. I need it to be you. So
Yeah,
That's
I
where
can
I
see that.
stand with that.
Oh, did you see it, Hannah?
Yep, I
What
did.
did you think?
I wanted Katie to go first because she had sent me a text after the end of the movie, and I felt like she had more feelings just in general.
Totally.
Sorry, I had them.
I was sort of middle of the road on this movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. That you know, I I'm not exactly, there are like the plot points where, like that upsets me or that I love kind of deal. I felt a little like, okay, I know how this works. There wasn't a huge surprise in it for
Yeah.
me.
Mm.
But I will say I did spend a very long time just looking at Sherry Sam's hair because I loved it so much.
Yeah, she looked beautiful in this movie.
Mhm.
And I did like the relationship between her and his son. I thought that was
Mhm.
like the fact that they talked about their conflict and it was resolved rather quickly. I thought, good. This is why we talk about things. Well done.
Yeah, and
Like
I'd say I think it's only Shepard's second role in a movie, so I thought he did pretty good.
very cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I think he, played the part, did what he was supposed to do, and it is just now occurring to me. I was like, he looks like like he's getting to a point where he's taking over like somebody else who doesn't do this anymore. And I was trying to figure out who it was. I think he's turning into a Haley Joel Osment type.
Oh.
I can see that, but his voice sounds just like his dad's, which was kind of interesting to me.
It does.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was just a lot of family in this movie.
Mhm. Yeah. So there we go. I would give this one a 4 for me. I give it a 4 out of 5. But like I said, I own my biases and I had some going into this. So what about you, Hannah?
I think I'm gonna land on a 3 for this one. Pretty middle of the road.
Mhm.
Like no real, you know, love it or hate it
Yeah.
Yeah.
feelings.
I'd have to say a 3 too. I think that my anger with the poetry stealing or the whatever is just purely my own issue with artistry and
Yeah.
how vulnerable it is. I will understand that. And yeah, people should watch it if it's not terrible. It's
Mhm.
pretty cute. So
Yeah.
3.
I mean, I also it's not my I did kind of laugh that you think that these poetry professors would be a little more sympathetic of a struggling kind of musician or whatever musician,
Yeah.
not be these ultra snobs. They kind of made me laugh. They were very snobby.
Very
But
snobby.
anyway, so let us know if you're listening what you think of these movies. We talked about a lot, so we'd love to hear your rankings. And that's it. We did it. We finished Hallmark 2022 pre Christmas as a
Can you
podcast.
believe it? Christmas is like tomorrow.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, why don't you tell the audience where they can find your podcast and what kind of coverage you're going to be doing this Christmas season?
Sure. So we are One Kiss Means Forever. We're on all the pod catching devices of I don't know where people get podcasts anymore because there's like just wherever you get it
Yeah.
is where you can find it.
Whispered on the wind.
Like
That's where we
Spotify,
are.
Apple,
Right.
Good Pods, all that fun stuff.
But there's so many that like the likelihood that you use a weird one that we don't mention is also high. So whichever one you use, it should be there. And we tweet as many of the live premieres as we can, East Coast time. Um, we are One Kiss Means Forever, where the 1 and the 4 are numerals on Twitter. And we live tweet so much, so
Often.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be trying to get to most of the Christmas premieres. We are just not making a promise to get to every single one because we don't want to kill ourselves.
Yes. Yes. I am living in a new place and all of my parents are coming here to visit me. While my in-laws love Hallmark, including my Upper Peninsula gruff father-in-law, which is super adorable. We'll be watching as much as we can. But I also have to entertain, I guess. So I'll do my best.
Well, we'll put all the information in the description because y'all definitely want to be following them on Twitter and on the podcast. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following our podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews for both of our podcasts. We would sure appreciate it. Helps people to find when they're looking for Christmas content. So if you put in those 5-star reviews, it really helps us out. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which we're going to have a ton of fun content on there, including our next patron watch along, which we were doing with writer Shannon Latimer for Ghosts of Christmas Past, which was one of our favorites of last year on Lifetime. So we're going to be watching that. So if you want to participate in the watch alongs and all the other stuff that we have the Patreon. Please take a look at that. We also have our merch store, which has tons of fun new festive designs for this holiday season. So please take a look at that. And thanks so much, ladies. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
You.
And,
Thanks for having us.
and we'll talk
Always
to
a
y'all
pleasure.
later. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.